Hello, friends, and welcome to another video lesson from DBOS Talks. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe and click the bell so that you can be notified of new uploads. This video is the latest in the playlist called Linux tutorial, and here we'll be learning how more about the ls command or the list command of Linux. Okay, so it is for list. ls stands for list and is used for listing or making a directory listing or a list of directories and or folders. I mean, files. Okay. So first, let me go to the root directory. Okay. Let me clear this and then cd slash takes me to the root directory. Okay. So the command in this video will be the ls command, which lists directories and files. So when we use it without any options, the directories in our files will be listed left to right and from top to bottom. So if I do it ls now, by default, it will list the directories and the files left to right, top to bottom, and that's how it populates the screen. Okay. Now, in Linux, when many commands can be executed along with one or more options. So to specify an option, you will use a hyphen. For instance, we can make a detailed listing of directories and files by doing this on the ls command. ls minus or hyphen l. L means long, which means detailed. So detailed listing. So earlier when we issued a simple ls command, just display the files and the directories in this manner. Now with this option, a hyphen L, L meaning long, detailed, then it gives you a more detailed listing of the directories and the files, okay? So you will see the difference. One is the layout of the output, and then the other is that this is more detailed because of the option, which is minus L or hyphen L. Now, before we learn about those details, what these are about, let me just clear the screen. Okay. Let's first practice what we've learned in previous video lessons. So let's check where we are in the directory tree. So if I issue a pwd, we're at the root directory. Okay. Now let's list long again, ls minus l. Okay. Now let me just tell you that the first character of the output of each of these outputs of these lines tells you about the file type. Okay, so for instance, the D at the very beginning means this object here is a directory or a folder. The dash or hyphen or means this is a file. And the L refers to a link. So it's a link. So we can talk about this in subsequent videos, but for now, just be aware that the first character, when you do a list long or a detailed listing, the first character of that output tells you something about the file type. Could be a directory, could be a file, regular file, or it could be a link, okay, among others. All right. So now if I do a CD, which we have learned in a previous video, let's say CD etc. So if you know this, we CD because we are doing a change directory to a folder. So this etc is pronounced etc in Linux and Unix is a directory name. Okay, so how do I know that? If I look here and I've told you the first character and the output of the ls minus L is the file type. So D means it's telling me it's a directory. So I can do a CD on that. Remember, you cannot do a CD on a file. You can only do a CD on a directory. Okay, so this is a directory, so I can do a CD on that. CD space etc. Okay. And naturally, if I do a pwd, it is now it's being covered. Okay. Anyway, now if I do a listing on that ls minus L, then this, whatever output you see is the output or the listing in the current directory, which is slash etc, this one. Okay. Now, I will look for another directory in this and cd, do a cd on that. So let me just see here. So if you look at this line over here, the very first character, so the object is called XML. We still don't know if it's a folder or a file. So you look at the very beginning of the line, it's a D. So I also know it's a directory. So I can do a CD on that, CD space XML. Okay. And then I can do a listing on that. So these are the contents of the folder or directory called XML. And this is the full path slash etc slash XML. Okay. So that is what list long is doing. It is making a detailed listing of objects, of directories and files in that current location or whatever location you are. Because when you are not giving any path after this command, then that is talking about the current directory. Otherwise, if you will specify a path, a folder path, then the listing will be done on that specific path. It could be an absolute path or a relative path, something that we will talk about in coming videos. Okay, so now let me just go back to the root cd slash. This is the root directory, which is the very beginning of the directory tree. Okay, now I will clear the screen. If you will do a pwd, which you've learned in previous videos, it will give you the current, or it prints the current working directory, which is root. We're at the root directory right now. Now, if I do a list long again, it is like this. Now, we will now dissect and try to learn a little bit more deeply about the output that we see in a list long. Okay, so we cannot go very deep because of it will confuse you. This is a new concept for many of us. So anyway, I'll give you the essential high level on this one. So when you look at the output of a list long, and I already told you the very first character in that output tells you about the file type. Okay, the directory, among other things, it could be a file like this one, or it could be a link like this one. Link, you will learn about that in some other video. Okay, so for now, just you know that the first character tells you about the file type, and then the bunch of characters after that in the same bunch, in the same group, are the file permissions. So file permissions is something that is also present in the Windows OS. So you have read, write, execute, read, write, execute. So we can talk about this in another video, but just know that this part over here is used for file permissions of three components: the owner, the group, and then others. Okay, owner of the file, group. A group is a group of users, okay? And then others, those who are from other groups or some other users, okay? And then this over here is the number of links of to the file, okay? So link is something, if you relate it to Windows, you can think of a desktop shortcut. A shortcut to a file is a link. The concept actually came from Unix. Okay, link. So that's what it means. And then this, if you're familiar, it looks like a username. It is a username, but it also is referring to the owner of the file. For instance, this file is a directory because it's a D, and the directory name is media. Its owner is a username called root. Okay, and that owner belongs to this group root. Okay, and the file itself is in this group. So owner and group. Okay, group is just to put it simply, is a group of users that have some similar permissions, file permissions, privileges. Okay, so again, file type, file permissions of the owner, group, and others. The number of links. This is the owner. This is the group name. This is the number of bytes of the file. In this case, this is a directory but this is the number of bytes. So 4096 bytes, or that's 4.096 kilobytes. And then the last, not last, this part over here, which is a date, is the last modified date of that object. It could be a file, it could be a directory. But anyway, is the last modified date of that object, okay? Of course, it will be the current year. If it is another year, then it will mention that here, 2024. If it doesn't mention the year, then it is the current year. In this case, 2025. And then finally, the last column there is the file name or directory name. Or in this case, if you look at the first character, it's a link. So this is a link, and that's the target. So it's like if you use this, if you invoke this, then it's actually pointing to this object and location, okay? So that is the output of the list long. So again, just to recap, list is a command that will give you a directory listing, a list of objects, directories, and files, and or files in the Linux file system. If you do a list without any options, it will give you the output in this format, left to right, top to bottom. You'll fill the screen in that manner. But if you do a detailed listing, you want a detailed listing, you'll do a list hyphen L standing for long, and then it will give you a detailed listing, okay? So that's it for the ls command. There are a couple of other options. We will talk about more about this list because this command is a very highly used command in Linux. So this will not be the end of the conversation about this command. I'm just giving you a first view into this command because it's a very useful one, used for, of course, listing out objects. And you can also pipe it and use it with other commands, together with other commands in a script. But it will be in some other video, okay? Thank you for watching and listening. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click subscribe, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.